Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to episode 70 of Talking Asperger's with Andrew. My name's Andrew Marsh, and I'm autistic. I have Asperger's syndrome. And I knew that when I was 51, which is nearly 8 years ago now. And I now work with employers to help them better manage people like me, people who are autistic, who have Asperger's syndrome in the workplace. And it's amazing what comes up because you can help people in so many different ways because they don't necessarily know what to do. They don't want to make a mistake and do something wrong. So I help them understand the nature of people of Asperger's in the workplace and what particular characteristics and traits that people have so that they can better manage them and find out the ways to best support people in the workplace. And today's topic is a biggie. Today's topic is leadership for Asperger's syndrome. That's a big topic. We could be talking for a very long time, but I hope to cover some of the key elements of that in today's webinar. I think it's probably best to say straight at the outset that everyone who is autistic and who has Asperger's syndrome is different. Just like everyone else is unique, they're different. They have their own needs, wants, desires, strengths, weaknesses, characteristics, and so on. It's exactly the same with autistic people and people who have Asperger's syndrome. We're all different. When you've met someone with Asperger's syndrome, you've just met one person who has Asperger's. You're not seeing the whole gambit and the whole range of and spectrum of the spectrum. You're just seeing one person's representation of Asperger's. So what you see from one person might be completely different from what you see from the next person. And I think it's really important to set that out at the start of today's talk. So what do I mean by leadership? Well, I'm going to give you two bits of information that you know, but I want you to think about. Firstly, we are in the third decade of the 21st century. I know I say it often on my webinars, but I want you to think just about that for a moment. Just stop and think. We are in the third decade of the 21st century. And what goes with that is the second point I want to make. The 1980s started over 42 years ago. So what are you doing as a business that has developed and grown as industry grows, as society grows, that you might have been doing in the 1980s that's no longer right? Some things back then that we were doing work fine. Managing people well is still a skill and still a trait that's worked well. We just have to adapt how we manage people well because the nature of the beast has changed. The nature of the workplace has changed significantly. I mean, when I started work in 1986, I did not know or had seen a computer. I had never seen a computer. The only thing we had in our office was word processors that the secretaries and the typing pool, and that's what they were back then, would write the reports on. We would handwrite reports. We would give them to the secretaries and the typing pool. They would type them up. Then we'd have an iteration backwards and forwards for typos and such, and words that they couldn't read because my handwriting was appalling. So we've got into the technological age in my working lifetime. Quite amazing when you think about it now. People who are been at work for 10 years, having a laptop or having a computer at their workplace is common. It is absolutely, it's second nature. It's just the nature of the beast. People are technologically aware and savvy. So we need to bear that in mind. We need to bear in mind that we have changed as a society, and the needs and wants and desires of employees has changed, and the needs and desires and wants of employers has changed. Although the end result for an employer is still the same. Do a good job, make money, reward your staff, pay your staff well. Have great relationships with clients, have great relationships with your staff. If you can tick those 5 or 6 boxes well, meaningfully, your business is going to do well. So I'm going to go through a few of my tips, my strategies for leadership in the 21st century, in the third decade of the 21st century. And jumping straight in with that, I want to just talk about the word that I've used. I've used the word leadership. I haven't used the word managing. I talk about managing people with Asperger's, but the business of being in business is about leadership. In the modern world, we should be having leaders who are inspiring our workforce to do great work, and then the staff get rewarded for that. So I am talking leadership. I'm not talking about managers who will write you up because you're a minute late coming back from lunch. I'm not talking about managers who are clock watching because you're away for 2 minutes long for your break, or you, who are micromanaging the very essence of your being at work. That shouldn't have happened in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, and it certainly shouldn't be happening now in the 2020s. So if you still employ people, or if you are one of those people who's a micromanager, who's got to know exactly everything that everyone's doing, and you're at them all the time, you've done this wrong, you've done that wrong, do this, do this, do this, do this, do that, do this, do that. Please stop. Think about what it is you're trying to achieve. What you're trying to achieve is supporting your team so that they can be their most efficient, best, and productive in your business. And you don't do that by stressing them out so much about clock watching, about coming back from their break on time, about they were 5 minutes late because there was an accident on the motor. What did you expect me to do? I tried to get it on time. I'm going to make the time up. You don't need to browbeat me into do that. Please don't be that type of micromanager. I'm talking about leaders who inspire their workforce to do great work, because guess what that does? It does many things. It makes you as the nearly said the wrong word there, makes you as the leader of that team, makes you look good. Because if your team's all producing great work, productivity well, and it's quality work, and the clients are satisfied with it, it's going to make you look good. Your team is going to make you look good, and you are part of that. So that when the management levels above you see, oh, Andrew's KPIs are good this month because he's got his team right up to speed and he's supporting them. He, the leader, is supporting, or she, the leader, is supporting the team. That's what you should do. If you don't get anything more out of today's webinar, I want you to take this one point home. The leader's job is to support the team members in the way that works best for them so that they can be as efficient as they can be in whatever it is that you produce and what they have to do. And if that means you support Andrew in one way and you give instructions to Andrew in one way because he's very visual and he likes to see things a certain way, but you can give instructions to Stephen and Susan and Mari in a different way, then that's what you have to do. We can't continually do this one size fits all and try and knock the lumps off the edges off people because they're not fitting in. It's your job as a leader to support everyone so that they can be at their best and their most efficient and their most authentic, because that will make them feel valued. That will make them want to come in on that horrible, blustery, wintry day in February when there's a storm raging outside. They're still going to want to come into work and do good work. Your job is to support that and then reward that. So if you only take one thing away from today, the leader's job to support all of their team members in the way that works best for those team members. If we start off at the beginning of something, let's just suppose you've had a new job from the client and you've got a brief from the client. The first thing you do is you give clear, concise, precise instructions to your team, bearing in mind that the person with Asperger's, the Andrew of the group, might need to receive that instructions in a different way from other people in the group. So sending out the 30-page email won't work because I won't find the key points, the top markers to pick up on. I'll just see 30 pages of what do you want me to do with that? And I will give equal time to all the things I find on there because that's what I see. If you've got specific subject headings, give them that. Give some bullet points, short text, bullet points, image if you can. That's how I receive information effectively and efficiently. So have section headings, have the information, have bullet points, have summary, have I am expecting to see this for this section of work that you are doing. Let me know what your expectation is, and I'll try to do my best to deliver that. So if you then have another section, you go another section. What are the headlines? What are the bullet points? What is the outcome? What are you expecting to see? Again, do it like that so that the autistic person, the person with Asperger syndrome can say, yes, I understand what you have asked me to do. Because with the exception of people that you probably have disciplinary issues with generally, so let's put those to the side for the moment, no one deliberately sets out to fail in their work. No one. That odd person that you've got an issue with because of disciplinary matters and they've rubbed you the wrong way in business, in meetings, and the name keeps coming up, that might be the person's fault, or it might be the business's fault, or it might be the leader's fault. Let's put those to the side for a moment, because they might actually be autistic or ODD or OCD or ADHD, and they need to be supported in a different way. And if you can do that, you'll take away that rubbing point, that sticking point, that it's always that person. It's always that person. They're never listening to what I'm telling them. If that's what you find yourself saying about one person, then you're not making yourself clear, concise, and precise with your instructions to that person. If you find yourself saying, they never listen to what I'm telling them, guess what? You haven't found the right way to communicate with them so that you get what you want from them. So clear, concise, precise instructions, absolutely critical in what you're doing, so that the team sets out knowing what their individual responsibilities are, what the team collectively are doing. Is there 2 or 3 people have overlapping responsibilities? So someone needs to do something at the beginning of the week so that someone else could take that on board and do something else with it, take it further at the end of the week. There's no point if the person who's doing the first part doesn't start it till Friday afternoon, because the second person's got no time left in the week to attend to their as part of the project. So organize people, get your ducks in a row, organize people, say you're doing that part first, then you're passing it on to this person, and I want you to have that done by Wednesday 2 o'clock. Be specific, be specific, be reasonable in what you're asking them, but be specific. If there's something that someone needs to do that someone else is then going to take on and do something else with and develop it further, and you need it by a certain point so that the second person can take that on and still complete it within the time, set a realistic target and tell the person who's doing the first part what you're expected to do and when. Be specific, be precise, be accurate. The next thing that follows out of that is being consistent. Consistency from your leader is absolutely essential for an autistic person, because we like routine. We like to know what we're doing, and we like to be able to do what we did on the last project on this project. There may be certain differences because of the nature of the beast, but if you're doing a similar task to what you did last month, oh, great. I've got familiarity with that. I know what I'm looking into doing. I know what my boss is expecting of me because he said that was great at the end of the project last time. I've got familiarity with it. I can get into my own routine. I know which spreadsheets to use. I know which input information to put in, and gives the autistic person the confidence to know what they're doing. And they will go off and do that quite happily. So be consistent in what you do. Really important. Consistency is very important for anyone in business, because no one likes to be chopped and changed about every 5 minutes. Changes happen. Can I come on to change a bit later on? But changes happen. They're inevitable. But it's how you do that is important. So be consistent. When you have meetings, send out an agenda beforehand, the day beforehand, so that everyone's got an opportunity to think, oh, the agenda, they point, that's not for me. That's my issue. That's my point. That's where I need to input and understand what's going on. So that point 4, that's where I come in, and I'm going to be asked to present or say how we're getting on, how we're doing with progress, are we on time, do we have any problems? So I need to understand that point 4 is me. It's my aspect of what I'm dealing with on this project. So I need to make sure that I know what I'm doing, I know where I am, And I know if I've got any issues, I can bring them up at that point in the meeting, because that's what's expected of me. So it's really important to have agendas with meeting and have someone who knows how to run a meeting. I have covered meeting etiquette before on a previous episode of Talking Asperger's with Andrew, and meeting etiquette is really important. There is no point having the chairman sitting at one end of the table, and they're having a conversation about something that they think is important to everyone, and the people down the other end are having a separate conversation about something else. That's not how to run a meeting. If there's two important things that need to be discussed, tackle them one at a time. Don't let those at the different end of the room to you start going off on tangents and discussing something separately, because you need to know what's going on. Now, what they might be talking about is absolutely valid and necessary, but not at that moment in time. You will come to that point. If it's significant enough, say, okay, we'll address that point now. Let's have our discussion about it. Or actually, we're going to cover that in point 6 of the agenda. So if you could keep it until then, that would be great. So the person running the meeting needs to be on the ball, needs to be firm without being rude, but needs to be firm and keeps everyone in tow. I had a client who was working on a project at the client's premises, who had a thing for people's phones going off in meetings. His thing was, you're in the meeting to have the discussion with us, therefore your phone should be turned off. Because you can't have a conversation with your office back home, back in the office, or someone in the office, if you're in this meeting. So everyone turns their phones off. That was his instruction. Every meeting, please make sure your phones are turned off. I could guarantee you someone's phone will go off in the meeting, and he fined them £10 every time their phone went off, went to his charity that the company supported. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant way of maintaining sensible order and saying to people, no, we're having this meeting, it's important, so let's give it our attention. And if anyone's phone goes off, it shouldn't be on, so it shouldn't go off. But if anyone's does, it's £10 fine in cash now that I will add to our pot for when we make a donation to our charity. Brilliant way of doing it. I can guarantee you there's still someone every week whose phone goes off. It costs him a lot of money. So meeting etiquette is important. Having an agenda, those things are significant. Resources is the key one. Adequately resource your team. That seems like a very straightforward thing to say, but I'm doing this from the context of, let's suppose you have someone in your team and their job is to do a lot of graphic work. Maybe it's making images or videos, or high resolution images for promotion material or marketing material. It's quite likely that they're going to need a bigger, faster, more superior computer to you. They might have to have bigger RAM. They might have to have better graphics card with lovely images and all of these supporting tools so that they can do that. Now, you might think, yeah, that's great. That person needs that. But there are some people whose ego, some leaders, dare I say, some managers, whose ego gets in the way that they have to have the best thing. I can't have him having a better machine than me. I'm the boss. I'm in charge. I've got to have the best. And so they take the machine off that person at the weekend, and the poor chap poor person who's got the graphics to do, who's got to make images, can't do their job because the screen's too small, the computer's not powerful enough, the graphics card has been taken away, it's got enough business about it to be able to do what you need to do. So don't let your ego get in the way. If someone in your team needs a bigger, better, faster computer than you, or they need 2 screens or 3 screens. I have a friend in the PSA, the Professional Speaking Association, who has 3 screens for his computer. And he has learned how to use 3 screens. Now that is a skill, but he has 3 screens and he can work between the 3 screens from his keyboard. That's how he does his work. That's how he serves his clients. So if you have someone in your team who needs better technology than you have, and you're the leader, don't get twisted up about it. Go, yes, I'm supporting that person so that they can do their job best. And if that means they need the bigger, faster, better computer than you, or they have the printer or a plotter next to them because they're always doing lots of drawings and images, that's what they need. So don't think, I can't have, my laptop just does that. If you can work effectively and efficiently with the laptop you have, what's the problem? I've seen so many situations on social media where someone who, it was a specific example of someone who's very into the graphics of producing web pages and graphics and images and videos, had a big computer, big screen, a big screen to get all the images up and to be able to see it. Came into work Monday morning, and his desk was gone, his computer was gone, and he just had this normal everyday computer. And he said to his boss, "Where's my computer?" "Oh, you're not having that. That's better than mine. I've taken it." "Well, in that case, I can't do my job. So you let me know when you're going to give me the tools to do my job, and I'll carry on. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here and have a cup of tea." There was a situation at that point. Senior management got involved. HR got involved. Someone got a dressing down, and it wasn't the member of staff who needed the computer. So if your team need better things than you've got, and you can still work perfectly effectively with what you've got, let them have what they need to do their job. It seems straightforward, but trust me, if you ever decide in a moment of, "Oh, I haven't got anything to do at the moment, I'm going to do something," and you go onto the old computer and in your favorite search engine, you type in, "The reason I quit my job was because of my bad boss," or you put nightmare bosses, I quit. You have a look at some of those on there, and you will be stunned. You will be gobsmacked at the incompetence of some managers and what they're expecting their staff to do and work with. And they're not made up. There's too many of them for them to be made up. So make sure that all of your team members have all the resources they need to be able to effectively do their job. If that means person over there in the corner has a bigger, better, faster computer than you do, good for them. They're going to do good work because they've got the tools to do the job. Got to give them the tools to do their job. So resourcing is really important. Now, that might be a simple thing, like if someone is doing something and they need some support from someone in another department, might only need it for 2 hours just to be able to do a certain particular aspect of what they're doing. Well, identify that and say, "We know that you need to have 2 hours support from someone in a different department. We've arranged for that person to come and see you at 10 o'clock on Tuesday." So allow for that in what you're doing so that you can understand the information that they're bringing to you so that you can take it forward and do the rest of your job. That person will be down 10 o'clock Tuesday morning so they can sit with you and go through what you need and how they're going to convey that to you so that you can understand what you need to take from them to do your job. Don't leave it to chance. Don't let them think, "I can't do this bit." Because what you're going to get is you're going to get, particularly if they're autistic, you're going to have someone who's sitting there thinking, "I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." And they're scared of coming and asking you a question because the last time they came and asked you a question, you blew your lid at them. "You should know what you're doing. It's the same as last week." Someone who blows their top at your staff is not a leader. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to do this next point. Actually, I'm going to add this point in, and that is being approachable. Yeah. If you have an office, excuse me just a moment. If you're a leader and you have an office and you've got a door and, there are times when, yes, you need to shut your office door because you've got a client in, you're having a meeting, or you're doing something important, or you're doing something confidential about wages or bonuses or something like that. It's perfectly acceptable in those situations to shut your office door. But for the most time, leave your office door open and make yourself approachable so that the person who's sitting there, "I can't do this, I need to speak to someone about it. Oh God, I've got to go and speak to my manager and my supervisor." And last time I spoke to them, they blew up at me. That's not developing the rapport with your teams for them to be effective and efficient. So make sure that you're approachable. And if someone comes up to you and you're really busy at something and says, I need a bit of a hand with this, say, yep, understand that. I'm just in the middle of something. Can I come and see you in an hour? Or come and see me in an hour. We'll have a cup of tea and I'll go over the point. That's fine. That's okay. But don't blow your top at someone who may have been sitting at their desk for an hour thinking, I've got to ask him something. And then, I don't know how to approach him because he went nuts at me last time, or she went nuts at me last time. Be approachable, be professional. No matter what you do, be professional with your team, be approachable. Let's see what I've got here. We've done that one. Ah, yes, this is a good one. As I said at the beginning, we are in the third decade of the 21st century, and I know I keep going on about it, but I think it's important to understand that. Flexibility in break times. This is a really important one. Some people who are autistic, or maybe not even autistic, it just could be some people, whether they're autistic or not, don't feel the need to have an hour's lunch break. But they get hungry at 10 o'clock or 10:30. So they would much prefer to have two 20-minute, two 30-minute, or three 20-minute breaks throughout the day. Let them do it. Providing they're not working on a production line and it's going to stop the whole production going off. But, in a normal working situation, don't say lunch is between 12:30 and 1:30. That's when you start. That's when you stop. That's when you finish. Boom. That's it. No flexibility. If someone comes to you and says, look, I'm a bit of a grazer. I want a half an hour at 10 o'clock and half an hour at 3 o'clock. That's my hour. Is that okay? You go, yeah, of course. So long as the work gets done well, why does it matter whether they have two or three breaks to make up their hour of their lunch hour? There's no reason why you couldn't accommodate that at all, apart from the circumstances where you're in a production line, etc., etc. But in most normal office environments or working environments, you can accommodate that. So allow them to do that. Have an arrangement. Say, yeah, I'm fine. As long as the work gets done by the end of the day or by the end of the week, I don't care. Let them do it. So flexibility about break times is really important. It's the modern way. It might be the difference. Here we are. This could be the pointer for you. It might be the difference between someone you have interviewed who is absolutely bam, your number one candidate. The candidate that you had said, this is what I want. In the ideal world, I want these criteria from a candidate, and that person ticks all those boxes and more. But they say, at the interview or when the offer comes around, they say, actually, I don't want an hour's lunch break. I want 3 20 minutes. Is that okay? Are you going to say, oh, no, we have a rigid 1 hour lunch break. You must comply. That person is more than likely going to go somewhere else who is flexible to accommodate their needs. Do you really want to lose your ideal prime candidate because you're not flexible about your break times? I'm asking you the question. Really important. Some of these little things, you might think they're little things, but to someone who is a grazer, who likes 3 20-minute breaks throughout the course of the day, it makes a difference. They might have a medical condition. I used to have a lot of gastric reflux. I had ulcers and all sorts of things when I was a younger man. And if I could have had three 20-minute breaks so that I could eat something, small amount of things, keep my stomach full so that the acid didn't build up, that would have been great. That would have been a really positive thing, a helpful thing, instead of sneaking a biscuit when the boss is out, just so that you didn't get those problems. So try and be as flexible as you can, because your ideal candidate might be someone who says, great business, love the opportunity, it's got great career prospects for me, this work is right up my street, and I want to make a career out of your business, out of your company, but I want I want to have 3 20-minute breaks instead of a lunch hour. Or I want to have flexible start and finish times. Flexible start and finish times, flexi hours, accommodate that as much as you can. You know, does it have to be 9 to 5? Is the business going to fail? Is it going to fail if someone starts work at 8 o'clock in the morning and finishes at 4 o'clock? They've done their time, they've done their hours. Is it going to collapse into a big pile of we don't know what to do because someone came in at 8 o'clock, finished at 4 o'clock? When I used to work as a geologist, I would be early. Sometimes I'd be at my desk at 7:30 in the morning. And in that hour and a quarter, hour and a half before most other people turned up, I would get half a day's work done because there was no one there to interrupt me. I could just get on with it. The phones weren't going because there weren't other people in other departments at their work either because they weren't coming in till 8:30, 9 o'clock. I had an hour and a half of uninterrupted me time at work where I was incredibly efficient and got a lot done. We eventually started to get flexible start and finish times. But if you can do flexi time and you can accommodate someone coming in, it may be, let's take an example of a couple who've got young kids. They get their kids off to the nursery or the babysitter for 7:30 in the morning. You can get to your work at 8 o'clock. Perfect. Great. So that you can finish work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, go and pick the kids up from the nursery, and you'll be back home 5:30, 6 o'clock, sort the dinner and the homework and all the rest of it out. That flexibility of hours for someone in those situations, and there will be a lot of people who have kids, young kids for nursery or kids at school, who that flexibility is ideal. Accommodate it if you absolutely can. Have core hours, certainly have core hours, but if you can accommodate that flexibility, then please do it because you will then attract people who want to work for you because you have that flexibility. That's great leadership. That's what that is. Let's see what else have we got here. Managing change. Oh, yes, that's a good one. Managing change. Change happens all the time. It's a fact of life. It's a fact of business. How you manage that change is important. There will come a time when the leader, your manager, your supervisor gets a phone call from the client at 4 o'clock on a Thursday. They've changed their mind about something. They want to add in something, take out something, do something a little differently. And you've already written that part of the report, or you've attended to that aspect of the project that you were dealing with, and you've got to make a change. How you manage that change is really important. The worst thing to do is to get off the phone from the client, go, yeah, damn, go out there and say, right, client's made a change, do this now. Boom, changing it like that. That is not constructive. It's not productive. Yes, you have to make the change. Clients instructed it. Have you told the client that, oh, actually, this might take longer and you won't get the report till Tuesday next week and it might cost you an extra £1,500 in fees or whatever the thing may be? If the client's accepted that, fine. Then you sit down, you take a moment to think, what does that change mean to the project? What does it mean in terms of the deliverable? Are we going to, the technical aspects that need to change? Do we need to do more analysis or whatever the nature of the beast may be? And it's going to cost more time. You have to tell the client that it's going to take longer, or I put more resources on, it's going to cost more, or it's going to take more resources and take longer. Get that acceptance from the client, then brief your team. Sit down, work out where you are, brief the team, say, yep, we've been instructed to make this change. Record your time to a different work stage on your timesheet, and I'll give you the work stage for that to make this change so that we can quantify how much time and therefore how much fees or how much it's cost us to make this change, and we notify the client accordingly and they pay us for that change. Then have the meeting, call the team together and say, client's made a change. I've negotiated an extra 2 days on the project to be able to do this. Oh, excuse me a moment. I've negotiated an extra 2 days on the program. I've got an extra work stage on the timesheet to make sure that we're recording it so that we know how much to charge the client. And this is what we need to do. And then have the meeting, have the discussion with your team. Don't just go barging out the office saying, we got to make this change. Bam, do this, do that, do that. Boom. That doesn't serve any purpose. It just gets the people or the person that you've come and dumped on, gets their back up. They're going to go, what? What? They're not going to understand. They're not going to want to understand because the belligerent way in which you just come in and barged in and been aggressive and you've got to make this change, bam, bam, bam. Manage the change sympathetically, particularly if you have someone who is autistic, who manage their time so that they know where they are on the project. They're, if it's Thursday afternoon, they're at 65, 75, 80% of the project nearly complete so that they've got 20% to finish on Friday. So they know where they're sitting with their aspect of the work and how it all fits together. Just telling someone who's familiar, who likes the familiarity, who likes to understand why things are being done, just to make a change for that because the client said so, without giving them the reasons, without getting them to understand. Look, I've negotiated additional time from the client. I realize it's a pain, but this is what we have to do, and we'll deliver the project on Wednesday next week. So let's sit down and go through this constructively, get your initial thoughts on it, and then we'll take it from there. Manage the change sympathetically. Otherwise, all you're going to do is drive your good people away. If you can't manage it sympathetically, just come out, barging out of the office, barging out there your office, and you've got to make this change. Bam, 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 bam. Get it done for Friday. We're still going to do it on time, aren't we? Yes. No. And then you have a heated row with your staff in the middle of the office. You're just going to drive your good people away. You'll drive any of your people away. Excuse me. So it's really essential in change management. What needs to change? What impact does it have on time? What impact does it have on cost? What impact does it have on the deliverable that we're doing? What impact does it have on the team members that are working on it? Manage those aspects professionally so that you can make the change, the people understand why they're making it, and you give them the time to make that change. So managing change is really important. Be approachable and open. We've covered that. Oh yeah, yeah, important. This is going to be the last point on today's topic, and that is making sure that people in your team only have one boss. Now you might think, well, it's obvious. They only have one boss. That's me. I'm the supervisor. I'm the leader. I'm the manager. I've worked in multidisciplinary consulting engineers, and on a roads project, for example, a motorway project that's 10 miles long, there'll be people who deal with accommodation works, which is dealing with landowners, because we're putting a road through their land. So there's going to be new fences and gates. There's going to be new roads, side roads for them. We then have people who deal with drainage, people who deal with the road itself, the road makeup, the construction of the road. We have people who deal with culverts and and underpasses. We'll have people who deal with structures, whether they're bridges or retaining walls. There's a whole host of people involved in the bigger project. You have to make sure that any change or any information that comes down from a different team, it might be that a director from structures department has just had a phone call with the client and something important needs to change. That has to come through you. You can't allow other people from other teams to come and instruct your team. We've got to make this change, got to do this now, got to do that now, etc., etc. I want this bit done now rather than in 3 weeks' time. Got to have one boss. Yes, if that discussion needs to be had, that director or that team leader from that department comes in and talks to your team leader, your manager, your leader, and then you agree how it's going to do it, and then you then discuss it with your team. But you don't have free access. You don't let other team leaders have free access to your staff, because it's just going to create chaos, and you've got to avoid that. So have one line of communication, have one boss, because I've worked in places where people have tried to pull you in two different directions or three different directions. It doesn't work. It just makes the people who are actually doing the work gets very resentful, because who's in control of this project? I've got my team leader. That's the person I report to. That's the person I receive instructions from. That's how where the chain of command should come through. So it's really important. Leadership, big topic, which we've really only touched on half a dozen or so points today, but it's a big topic. It's an important topic because, as I said at the beginning, we are in the third decade of the 21st century, and the 1980s started 42 years ago. So let's step up. Let's put things in place that are appropriate for the environment that we live in, for the technological age that we live in, for the people's expectations that we live in, which are going to be different from people who, when I started work in 1986, be leaders. We have to get away from these micromanagers who are destroying workforces and forcing people out because they're just not prepared to put up with that level of nonsense. Sorry, that's the word that came to my head. They're not prepared to put up with that level of nonsense anymore. There's other people out there that they can go and work for and be better and treat them better. So leadership is about the one thing I said right at the beginning: supporting your staff as effectively and efficiently as you can so that they can do great work. That's your job as a leader. So put the stopwatch away, put the clipboard away, stop looking at the clock, go and support your team in the best way that allows them to do their job effectively and efficiently and productively. You'll have happy team members, you'll have productive team members that will make you look good, which will make you look good further up the chain of command, which means that when the rewards are coming out, you'll get your rewards and your team will get your rewards as well. Share the rewards. Really important that you share the rewards. So that was today's topic: leadership for Asperger syndrome and autism in general. Big topic. If you've got any questions about it, then please do get in touch. You can get me on my email, which is andrew@aspergersmatters.com, or on my website, which is aspergersmatters.com, and there's a contact form on there, which you're able to fill out the question and ask me anything you want. So if you're uncertain about what to do about employing and supporting people with Asperger syndrome, please do get in touch. I'll quite happily have a free consultation for half an hour to see how I can help you, whether we're a good fit, and if there's anything that I can do to help you and your team and your company be better at managing people with Asperger syndrome, because they might just be the spark that drives your business forward 10 years. They might have that what if question, that, oh, what if we looked at this in a different way? What if we approach this from a different angle? And they might come up with a new idea, new product, new process that could make your company the market leader. It's worth thinking about. So that's all for today. Keep a lookout on Friday for what next week's topic will be, and that'll be placed on my LinkedIn page. But until then, thank you very much for being on board with me today, and take care and good luck.